name is Seneque Milien. I am a family medicine trained physician, and also have fellowship on obesity medicine. A little bit about myself. So I've been practicing for the last 10 years. Did my med school in South Florida and did my residency in upstate New York. And then since then, I kind of like been in Indiana for the last 10 years practicing medicine. My background is mainly in acute care, so where I focus more on really, really sick patients. If you need to be admitted to the hospital, so that's where I come in. Over I would say the last 3, 4 years, um, giving how much I've seen in the acute care setting, I realized that I could make a bigger difference on the primary care setting. So I've focused a little bit more over the last 2 years on primary care. We opened this clinic named Precision Primary Care and Wellness. And the reason for that is, and I'll explain later, is on how we practice medicine, is how we want to practice primary care, which is a little bit different than the traditional way. And I've been with the clinic for the last year and a half. We really fully opened last year in October. And so we're a year old now. And we've been doing great stuff. So looking to actually spread the words to the community and Fishers, Carmel, the greater Indianapolis area.
You were saying that you changed up in terms of being in acute care, right? So you get to see the bad parts of what everybody's dealing with, and you're trying to catch them and basically rescue them. So now you switched over to this other side. What do you say is some of the like beneficial components of what you do now in terms of helping a client, in particular, athletes progress, heal faster, and continue to make way in terms of growing?
Right. It's a good question. It's great that you asked this because my philosophy in medicine has become more of how do we prevent things from happening. I've seen it once it happened. The question is how to prevent it from happening. And while we work with every age group, but there's no better group than the youth. Like, someone that's 15-year-old, 16 years old, 17. This is where we catch them. And it's mainly by education. So we want to catch those people, educate them, make sure what they do and they do it well because they don't know what's gonna happen when they're 40. They know what they're doing right now and they don't have any concern about it. But when they're 40, that's when all those problems start happening, and then it's too late to actually turn the clock back. So this is where I want to focus a little bit more on the youth and then try to actually educate those guys, work with them with what they do and make sure what they do it well, but also support them as good as well as possible to make sure that while they're doing those good stuff, which they should, but we give them all the tools they need to prevent insignificant wear and tear. Let me just put it this way.
Yeah. And I think that another part of that is you probably have to keep the parents in the loop because 80% of what they're going to be eating and dealing with is going to come from the parents. So that's probably, like you said, it's a family care situation. So
It
like
is,
getting
and
them
that's why.
all in and educating them with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but it's good that's why we do primary care because most of those youth, obviously, as a youth, you need your parents involved in your care. You need to make sure that the parents need to make sure that the kids are actually receiving the right care and the right education. And then we partner up with the parents to make sure that the kids are actually getting what they supposed to be getting to make sure they grow well. And if we're talking about longevity, which is kind of like what this era is about, there is no better way to catch them as early as possible to make sure they have a pretty good life going forward.
Yeah. So it's being proactive and coming and seeing you before there's an actual injury. So with that, what would you say are some things that you notice in the athletes that they may not think about that, you could see in some of and I want you, we know some of the things that you have in your office, but to be able to expand on some of the things that you have in the office that really help assess an athlete where they are, where there's some positives and negatives. So what are some of the things that your office offers for athletes that can really help with the preventative care? Because what athlete doesn't want to be proactive and help prevent injuries?
So while in the past we've focused more on, let's take a regular high school student athlete, and then we do the physical. The physical is typically a quick 15-minute physical. Hey, you look good. Seems like you can play. Go out and get them. So
Mm-hmm.
in our clinic, one of them is this thing called the Milien scan. So each one of our athletes get to actually use that scan. It's a full body scan that gives you so much information about yourself, and it's instantaneous. So as you on this scan, is telling you what's going on with your body right now. So it's not one of them is this thing called the Milien scan. So each one of our athletes get to actually use that scan. It's a full body scan that gives you so much information about yourself, and it's instantaneous. So as you on this scan, is telling you what's going on with your body right now. So it's not retroactive to it is retroactive, but it's not gonna only focus on things that happened 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. It's gonna tell you what's going on right now. If you having a bad day or you didn't drink enough water and you're not hydrated, and we'll get to that part later, it will tell you that right now.
Wow.
You know, it will say, hey, you know what, you're dehydrated and you probably
Mm.
need more electrolytes and you need more fluid. And if we talking about longevity and how to proactively treat people, that's we need to have the data now when things are happening. So we use that scan for our athletes at the beginning, and we use it throughout the training, and we can see how they progressing, how the body is
Mm.
responding to the type of sport they playing. If there is injury, how this is affecting the body. So that's one thing. In addition, to make sure we get our athletes ready um, for for the sport, we do our own internal mini cardiovascular test for them.
Oh, wow.
So we put them through a rigorous cardiopulmonary test that takes about like 3 minutes, but it's pretty intense. And we measure that, and we follow that. We go and we get an EKG for them.
Mm.
So those are things that if there's any underlying cardiovascular
Yeah.
issues, we can catch those early. We don't have to wait for someone to actually get to be a pro, or God
Wow.
forbid, me as a parent to actually see my kids, not performing well or having problem. Then that's when we have to take them to the doctor. So if we can catch those things early, then we deal with these things much earlier. And then additionally, we don't stop there. We actually even do regular things like a hearing test for them, a
Mm.
vision test for them. So last thing you want is to be on the field and think you can see well, because no one ever told you that you can't see.
Mhm.
And it turns out that you're not catching the ball well, and no one actually knows why. And it's because maybe you need glasses, you know
Mm.
Well, parents
and
want to get those kids' ears checked because they act like they can't hear what they're telling
For
But
real.
no. And you're right. Like maybe they can't hear what you're telling because they're stubborn-ish. But like for the most part, sometimes you don't know if kids, because we assume kids are
Mm.
perfect, right? So we
them.
don't check those things. And my goal is not to say that we're gonna catch too many of those kids, but if I can catch one, I can prevent
Right.
something horrific from happening.
Right.
And so when we put all this together, it's an awesome screening for kids before they go start playing sport. But we don't stop there. We have all the other ingredients to actually help them through playing the sport. And if God forbid they get injuries, or even no injuries at all, how to actually support them to actually perform to the highest level
Hmm.
they can without having to actually miss a beat.
Yeah,
So this is what the professional athletes are using,
I was just wondering.
to
Mhm.
actually get really, really better. So why not actually start when we're younger?
right. Now, and there's some of the other stuff that you all do, like, you have a lot of kids who have, I run into a lot of kids who struggle with the nutrition component. Part of that struggle is being hydrated. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts when it comes to hydration? What should they be drinking? What should they stay away from? Well, and then what do you all do to kind of help balance that out when they're so far out of kilter?
Yeah, awesome. So you touch on something that's really important because nutrition, before you talk about hydration, you talk about nutrition, right? So nutrition is one of the biggest thing that our body needs to actually fuel itself to grow appropriately. And we all know we lack in a bit when it comes to nutrition and what component we're supposed to be getting in our foods in this country. And so, with that said, our kids' bodies are resilient, but even with that, as we grow, we start seeing the missing parts that we're not getting. So, what I would say to parents, make sure that obviously you can't skip on a proper meal. That is always going to be the best thing. And for athletes, those kids are not like regular kids.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids are putting themselves through a lot of rigorous exercise, and they're losing a lot of electrolytes, and those need to be replenished. you know and there's a reason why we have Gatorade, we have Powerade, we have all those things out, because we realize those were the best things for athletes. So it's
Mm-hmm.
never too early to actually start using those things. But I would say that those things by themselves, without regular water, it's not even it's not gonna do all the tricks. So you need a lot of water. And I know most of our younger kids, they water doesn't taste good to them. So they don't drink as much water as they supposed to while they going through all this rigorous training.
Yeah,
So
and
I
what
would.
will I just, not to interrupt you, just real
Yes,
quick,
sir.
but like with the Gatorades and stuff like that, I know I'm not the biggest fan of them because a lot of them are mostly sugar. So a lot of
Mhm.
times what we do or tell the kids is like, you get one, split it with somebody, and just go half water. You
Mm-hmm.
Right,
got half, I got half. Now we fill the rest up with water. It waters it down, but
Right.
that's the only
right.
way they
And you
really.
lower the sugar. No, no,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And this is why I put the point on the water as much as possible. I think you said much better than I could. You can't replace water with Gatorade.
right,
I mean, the water is much more important
right,
than you would with any electrolyte drink. And of course, you're right, Doc, because most of those drinks are for profit, and
Mm-hmm.
they really don't put what they're supposed to be putting on those things. I would personally would say that if we can get our kids to eat healthy and make fruits, pure fruit juice at home, where they get what the nutrient they're supposed to be getting, and then after that is just water. We really wouldn't need to be drinking Gatorade or Powerade or any of those things, because those are commercially made, and they better than not drinking at all, but they not as good as your proper nutrition, you know, and they're not as good as water in general. And that you asked that question about, like, what if those people are lacking, what can we do to actually support them? And this is where we have plenty of things. Obviously, there are things that we can do when it comes to electrolytes by mouth, but the best way to actually hydrate yourself and quickly hydrate yourself is by IV fluid. And if you're playing
Mm-hmm.
sport, if you, for example, you're a track runner, and I tell all my clients who are they run marathon, and I'm like, you gotta get yourself hydrated. And when we hydrate them after a marathon. And those are people that's just want to run a 5 miles or a 10 miles once every 6 months or once a year or so. And we still tell them to do that. So imagining a kid who's running multiple miles every day, for a week. So that really get them dehydrated and they lose a lot of electrolytes. So those kids would benefit a lot from rehydration, from what we do in the clinic under supervision of physician, of course. But to piggyback on that, we can actually see those things, the dehydration. We can see the electrolyte imbalance by just doing the scan that we typically do for our clients in the clinic.
What would you say are some of the, when you do the assessment, some of the, are there like commonalities of, athletes at this age being more unbalanced? Like we know they love Gatorade and stuff like that on the nutrition side, but are
Mhm.
there things that are kind of either common ground and athletes just don't realize it and they push through it because they're athletic? Or is it case by case as far as when you assess this person, their hip flexors are off or they have imbalances like that? Does it just
Right.
depend?
It is more case by case, but I would say if they had to be one theme that I'm seeing for the most part, it's gonna be the dehydration and electrolyte
Mm-hmm.
imbalance. That is almost like you don't miss those kids are typically
Mm-hmm.
gonna be electrolyte imbalance and they're gonna have dehydration. And then the funny thing is, we as you're young, you get through this. You're gonna get through it. It's gonna be fine. And later on, and your doctors won't see the problem when you're 20. They won't see the problem
Mm-hmm.
when you're 30 because your body's still compensating for it. But when you're 45, you're 50, then
Right.
they start seeing the problem. And then, we always push that to the side and be like, oh, that's just normal aging.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normal aging, it's what we could have done differently to
Right.
protect ourselves that we
Right.
didn't.
And that's why preventative care is important, right? We're not thinking about kids are just like, oh, my knee, I'm good.
Right.
And then years down the line, it's like, oh, that just comes with the territory. So to be able to do preventative, and I heard some of the things other than the machine, not even realizing that, I've heard about the liquid IV, I've even tried it, but just hearing you say how important that is for even high school athletes when it comes to like dehydration being one of the, key components that you kind of see commonalities, even though it's case by case. So I would have never, even as a coach, thought like, oh yeah, let's tell our athletes to do liquid IV versus get some of the IV packs, but that makes much more sense that they can get it
Right.
faster and quicker.
Oh,
Yeah.
much faster and quicker. And then you recover, your body recovers a lot better. And then
Mm-hmm.
if we're talking about performance, and we've always, believe in giving 110%, 120%. I like to think about this a little bit differently. If you performing at 100%, your body's gonna fail.
Mm,
Right. You want to perform at, let's say, 80%. And then when you need to actually get to 100, you get to 100 and you scale back to 80. So it's almost like saying that I'm going to be driving, I'm in a race and I'm going, let's say, 120 miles an hour all the time. I need to accelerate when I need to accelerate. I need to
mm,
decelerate when I need to. And that's the way our body works as well. So if you're going to do things that is going to put you at 100%, and you're not supporting the body to actually give it what it needs to make sure it performs well, then you're going to break down pretty quickly.
mm-hmm.
Mm. Now, speaking of that acceleration and deceleration, now the trend that seems to be going on is that a lot of kids drink these energy drinks. They
Mm,
talk like the Celsius, the Monster, the Red Bull. It's like water to them.
Right.
What are your thoughts on those types of drinks? And then what are some of the well, I'll skip. My opinion is that they're terrible for you. So, what do you what do you see some of the
yeah.
other damaging things that could be? If you agree, what are some of the damages that could be done from drinking those types of drinks?
Yeah, Doc, I agree with you. I mean, I'm laughing because I think I share your opinion that those are not good for you. In fact, I can go a little bit deeper into this as a medical doctor and tell you that not only that it's not good for you, but I've seen so many people in the hospital admitted only because they drank a couple of those drinks. These
Mm,
things actually, the reason why people feel energized is because you increase your heart rate
mhm,
significantly. So you have more, with more heart rate, more energy, more oxygen. So you create more ATP. But what end up happening is at some, if, number one, if you do it constantly, then your heart rate is at a baseline is already at a higher than your peers who, let's say, assume they don't do that. So the higher your heart rate is, the higher your risk of cardiac arrhythmia, which we
mm,
see in the hospital all the time, and the higher your risk of later on of heart failure, which
mm,
we see all the time. you know And not to even count the fact that none of those chemicals that they put in these drinks actually good for you. You know, if we're talking about preventive care and longevity, I would tell kids, I personally never allow my kids to drink them. We don't ever, I don't, I think I might have drank one Red Bull once because I was driving for 24 hours, you know, and I've tried a few of those energy pre-workout drinks when I was younger, and you can tell your heart start pounding, and you can feel that. And you know, for myself, experimentally, it wasn't a good thing. Scientifically, there's no one that would ever tell you that this is a good thing for you if they're in the medical field. So I would tell them probably not a good thing, not a good idea at all.
Yeah, I think this is too commonplace. It's too commonplace for a lot of kids, and they're so accessible to them. And I just see them like you could be walking around and they're just drinking it like it's a regular water or
Water.
something.
And
Like,
part of it, if I need to be politically incorrect a little bit, part of it is a generational thing
Yeah.
because our parents live off those things. You know, I remember going to school, like now I can't go to work and not seeing my coworkers with multiple cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, Starbucks comes around because of this phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
So our kids see us doing this every day, so they think it's okay to do. But because we don't educate people in medical and medicine most of the time, we allow this thing to actually just go undetected. So no, but absolutely, it's not a good thing for them at all if they want to actually live a a good life free of you know, biggest thing is gonna be the cardiac issues. I don't want to talk about the neurological issues that may come later on because that's still in the works. But you know, cardiac wise, that's not good. Chemical that you put in your body, that's not good.
yeah. Now, something else with we talk about these trash diets of these children. Um, they get to the point where a lot of when you have the bad diets and the hyper sugar diets, you end up with a lot of inflammation. I know
Absolutely.
you have a particular device in your office that kind of helps with overall inflammation. Tell us a little bit about that and how somebody could use that to their benefit.
Right. So we got about two devices in the office that's actually really, really good for inflammation. The easiest one for someone who is not hurt, who's just purely inflammation to use is gonna be our red light therapy. Now, it's not just inflammation. This is something that can help our athletes improve their performance significantly. And as you write that as you lowering inflammation, your cells are performing better, and therefore your body in general is working better. You know, so it takes about maybe 30 minutes in the clinic to actually get this. So most of the time it's about like 10 to 15 minutes, maximum maybe 20 minutes in the red light, and you feel rejuvenated. And then about 10 minutes on the vibration plates, which actually really help you with your balance and in general. So that helps. That's very helpful, and this is something any of my athletes I encourage them to get. The other thing is it's called microcurrent. It's a little bit different, and this is more for if you're hurt, how to heal faster. How do we improve your circulation? How do we improve the pain control and all those things? And that's something we reserve mainly for people who actually probably had an injury and they're trying to heal that, and we use that. But it also reduce inflammation significantly. And lastly, I would say the last thing we already talked about it is hydration. We don't know how much inflammation actually persists because we're so acidotic. You know, when you're dehydrated, your cells are much closer together and they're not free to do their work appropriately. It's almost like being handcuffed with somebody else and you're trying to run a race. You don't do very well. So those three things will be very helpful.
With you working with athletes, right? We always have athletes like, oh, I'm working with off season, right? Oh, I'm working with so and so. Have you
Mhm.
had an opportunity to connect even with the coaches regarding how the assessment works, the positive that you've seen with an athlete, so then they can understand, like, if an athlete says, well, based on my assessment or some of the things that I've had done by you, then the coach then has buy-in and wants to send more athletes, like, okay, you need to go see him
Right.
too. So, so how does that work, if at all? My gears are turning on ways that I feel like this is a huge
Right. Right.
untapped clinic,
Yeah.
especially. But I'm just thinking, like, as much as we want the coaches to, I mean, excuse me, the parents to have buy-in, what would that even look like to have coaches who understand the benefits of this and how these are things that professional athletes have access to, and we have it right here in Indianapolis. Like, I think that's huge.
Man, your brain is that. God bless you. I mean, you guys have really really good brain. No, because the thing is, it's funny that you say that because we started working, reaching out to our local coaches. My way of giving back, and the way I think about this, I'm gonna walk around a little bit to actually get to what you're asking me. But like I said earlier, if we're gonna do longevity, if we're gonna do preventive care, we need to start with the people that can benefit from it the most. So start with kids, and it's also it's my way of giving back to the community. I live in this community; it's a great community, and working with younger kids is working with everyone is great. But when you work with kids and you can see the result, it's special.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we're working with a lot of school to actually get them the words out, my it's funny that you say that about the coaches, but those are gonna be the people that benefit or can see the
Mm-hmm.
change in the athlete the most. It's not gonna be the
Right,
parents. The parents
right.
may see it, but the coaches are gonna be the one that's gonna be like, oh wow, you actually improved by 5 seconds in your
Mm-hmm.
run. You improved by 10 seconds, or I can see that your rush are gonna be a lot better and
Mm-hmm.
stronger. And so we want the coaches to actually, and in fact we have those special four coaches who actually can get us like five of the best athletes, for example. Send them to us, let us
Okay.
actually work with them and get them even better. So then from there we can see they can see the proof, and they can get the rest of the team to actually work with us. But it's a huge advantage to actually have that type of technology and that
Mm-hmm.
type of clinic available for those kids. And again, like I said, something that was only available for professional athletes, and
Right,
not even all of them. It's just very few of them who actually
right.
know about those things.
Yeah, I think
Now,
that's a go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have one more question, and you don't per se have to answer this, and maybe this is for a future conversation, like how you said, giving back to the community. But immediately when I'm thinking of the access to these different tools that you have, and thinking about access, and
Uh-huh.
so what would that look like? Not as far as telling us cost, but I can see a parent being like, "Well, I don't know about you, but." So
Right, right.
how does
No,
access, especially because you're giving back to the community, of course, not free, but
right, right.
what does that look like? Are there different
For parents, for
scales of,
someone who
yes,
wants, I agree.
yes.
I completely agree. I mean, and again, thanks for that question, because then, so all those things that we talk about, and when we're talking about like professional athletes, those things are we talking about up here,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, and most people gonna be like, oh my God, there's no way I can afford this, because like you're talking about guys in the NBA, guys in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL. So, no, we the little guys
Okay.
as well. So I do understand where my community is, where we're coming from, and
Yes.
things like this. So while of course, you know, it's easy for me to actually go to a high school and say, Dax, I mean, coach, I'm gonna do all your kids physical for you for $10 or $15, but I just
Nice.
basically look at them and be like, hey, you're good, you seem like you can play and
Yes.
whatever else. With technology that we're bringing in, those we keep it the cost significantly low.
Okay,
Um,
great.
yeah, we for $125, we spend pretty much an hour with those kids, make sure they get
Mm-hmm.
all those things that I listed before.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they get the EKG, the scan, the step test, the eye
Yeah, that's a
vision
good.
test, the hearing
Yeah.
test, all of it. gets done for 125. This is typically something that would have cost them over $700, but
Yeah.
but because those are kids, and I want to actually catch them as early as possible, and I understand, you know, the limitation to raising kids and everything else, so we make it affordable.
Great.
And
Thank you.
you did say there was a limit. You're gonna take that top 5 first.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I'm not trying to. Yeah.
No, no, because I mean I do similar things, and I do.
Yes.
If I'm gonna do something like that, that's super heavily discounted, I'm only gonna do so many.
Right. Yeah, and you completely right, Doug, because we can't do this in a high scale and sustain it for long term. So that's why earlier I said the coaches I work with, send me your five best athletes, and this is what they get.
Yeah.
And obviously after that, we as we open it to the public, the price it will vary a bit because they will have more demand. But yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's a huge untapped resource.
Yeah.
That a lot of people are not aware of, which is why I wanted, when you kind of sponsoring the show, I wanted you to be on to share this type of information, because a lot of people don't really know. And we wanted to make sure they kind of had more of a clue. Like, I'm aware of it because that's my world. But and I was like, hey, there's more people that need to know, because like we do a lot of similar things. But because I do red light, but your red light is significantly different, and it's the whole bed. Where I do like more of a spot red light laser treatment type things, where you do like the whole bed, so it's a whole body experience, which is different. And then like you said, the microcurrent, like for people who are injured, and we have a lot of similar things, but we just do them differently.
So, yeah, absolutely. And those things, and you through your practice, that I'm sure you see the result of those things, and how much your patients are appreciative of when you work on them with red lights, for example, or PMF, because that's what the body uses to heal itself. And all I'm trying to offer people is a natural way to actually heal themselves as much as possible. So we not realize that as a medical doctor, I haven't said anything about therapeutic or pharmaceutical drugs, because that's not part of my, while I use them and I still practice full-fledged acute care. So there's a place for those things, but there's also a place to catch people much earlier, so we don't have to start giving them those medication if they don't need to be.
Well, Doc, we appreciate you joining us. How should people get in touch with you? What should they follow you on social media? What are the avenues for us to
yes, I mean we so if someone wants to book with us, of course, our clinic's name is Precision Primary Care and Wellness, and so the website is precisionprimarycarewellness.com. I'm sorry, Precision Primary Care Wellness, there's no N in between, .com. And then if they need to actually email us, it's precisionpcw.com. We are in Facebook at Precision PCW, Instagram same way, LinkedIn the same way. So we have great information that we're posting. We got great people that we partner up with to actually make. My whole goal is to actually, I can't do this by myself. So I look for like-minded people who actually want the same thing that I know our clients want, I know our community want. So we all can push together and get those kids and our patients in general to a better place.